This is just coming in on the wires. Fitch Ratings has downgraded the Afreximbank's credit rating to one notch above junk with a negative outlook, citing high credit risks and weak risk management policies. This one-notch downgrade to BBB minus comes as the African lender is battling to protect its loans from restructuring in Ghana, Zambia, and Malawi, claiming that as a multilateral lender, it has preferred creditor status. Fitch has pegged, and this is pretty important here, Afrexim's non-performing loans at 7.1% at the end of 2024. The bank itself reported a first quarter non-performing loan ratio of 2.4%. In other news, the federal government is attempting to bridge Nigeria's long-standing metering gap and boost power sector efficiency. The federal government has stated that it will bring the full rollout of its free electricity meters under the presidential metering initiative by the fourth quarter of 2025. A representative of Area Onagorua, who is a special advisor to the president on energy, gave an update on the presidential metering initiative during a second day of the Nigerian electricity supply industry stakeholders meeting on Tuesday in Lagos. And he stated that the initiative aims to provide more than 6 million meters to end users. Also, Nigerian banks that are compliant with the paying off the USSD debts that's being owed to telcos have been sending out notifications to their customers that going forward, debits for USSD will now be to airtime rather than the customer accounts. As you know, this USSD matter has been raging for quite a while, and between the Central Bank of Nigeria, the NCC, telcos, that's what's going forward. Let's talk to our guest, Arise Business Analyst Chika Mbonu, who is with us. Chika, good morning to you.
This is how are you today?
I'm fine, thank you. There's a lot on the table today, sir.
Oh, yeah.
Shall we begin with the Afreximbank and this downgrade?
Yeah, I mean, the way I put out, the way I respond to risk rating releases is, of course, I'm sure at Afrexim headquarters now, I mean, there'll be, almost emergency meetings being summoned and so on and so forth. So when you accept the good ratings, so you should use some spirit to accept the lower ratings with the downgrades, like in this case. But I mean, the reasons have been put out there why this happens. And when the downgrades happen, on a general basis, you look at your risk management processes, you look at whether there are any specific loans you have given out that there may be challenges, or a group of loans that there may be challenges.
Yes.
And then the general economic outlook. In this case, as you said during your rundown, the Afrexim management has come out and said our non-performing loan ratio is 2.4. Fitch says we have stressed it out, and then we believe it's 7.1. So that's that discrepancy. The other issue there also is the sovereign loans, principally to Ghana, Malawi, and one other country.
I think Zambia.
Yeah. And then the issue is, the Afrexim is saying our loans cannot be subject to restructuring by these countries. And once loans are restructured, what happens again is that they are sort of downgraded, and it affects the NPLs, the non-performing loan ratios. And in this case, Ghana, for example, I think that almost about $800 million of loan portfolio that's been subject to restructuring by the Ghana government. And I'm sure I'll have the same thing happening in other countries.
Yeah.
And generally, Fitch has raised issues about what they perceive as the weak risk management processes. I have a feeling that the Afrexim headquarters now, the multiple meetings going on to be able to provide a response.
Exactly.
But I mean, what are the possible consequences of this? The immediate consequence is that when you're downgraded, it becomes more expensive for you to borrow.
Right.
Remember they say the higher the risk, the higher the return. And so if the risk is lower, the lenders and the international financial corporation that do business with you are going to charge you higher. The risk premium will be higher. And then what also happens that Afrexim is very, very helpful for the African market. It means the pass on to African businesses will also be higher.
Right.
And the clients of Afreximbank won't be able to now enjoy the cheap loans. They will have to transfer that premium back to them. But so it's a story. Let's watch and get a response from Afreximbank.
Thank you for
towards
that.
this decision.
Power or
no, let me
USSD?
talk about USSD.
Let's go to USSD.
We have talked about this in this program, for a long time.
Yeah.
I mean, let's not, harass our viewers with the full meaning of the USSD.
Yeah.
But I mean, is very relevant for the Nigerian banking system or Nigerian telecom system, especially for financial inclusion, especially where we have a large pool of areas in Nigeria where you have no internet, and then the issue of smartphones are not available.
Yeah.
And so a lot of people use that for the banking services. And then the other thing also is for the telecom companies themselves. Their customers use it to check balances, recharge their phones, and so on and so forth.
Yeah.
So at the different levels, whether it's the telecom companies, they, as I said, they use it to recharge their phones. They make revenue from it. You see, the issue is about the 250 billion that's been there.
Yeah.
And I dare say now that the telecom companies should stop. Every small police, they say, they threaten. Anytime you mention this story of USSD, go through the history, every time it's always associated with they threaten.
To withdraw services.
They're making a lot of money from it.
Course, yeah.
250 billion in arrears, it's a lot of money for them. For the banks also, it helps in in internet banking and mobile banking services for them, expanding their banking net and more money for them, because where customers don't have internet banking, or mobile data, the USSDs work.
Yeah.
And then for the central bank and the economy as a whole, it helps in financial inclusion. And that's why this is very important for the whole ecosystem to work. When it started, the telecom companies were rendering service free.
Right.
Bank just saw it as one other service to just give, using rendering service to their customers. Subsequently, telecom companies started charging the customers directly, not the banks. And then some banks saw this service as, let's make it look nice, because a lot of customers of the banks, we are not doing transactions because of the fact that they don't have credit.
Right.
Remember, at this stage, telecom companies were charging the customers directly.
Yeah.
So they started doing the corporate billing, which the telecom companies liked. Now, what's happened? The corporate billing has issues of transparency. It just means that even when transactions don't go through, the revenues of the telecom companies are literally guaranteed.
Right.
And so there are issues of transparency and reconciliation. And that's what accumulated the 250 billion naira balance, which CBN, NCC came in, reconciled and told banks to pay at least 85% of that, which most of them have done. And he confirmed that during the interview with the MTN CEO who was on our program here. And so, but the issue now is that the banks believe that the best way for them is to transit to what they call the end user billing. End user billing, just like, it's like USSD just should be just like any service that rendered by the telecom company. Yeah. If you want to use it, you use it, and your recharge credit is debited upfront by the telecom, and then leave the banks out of it.
Right.
That's what the banks are angling for, and of course this unsettles the comfort of the corporate billing program being used by the telecom companies. Now, but the issue is NCC has had a meeting with the banks and telecom companies and aggregators who interface between the telecom companies and the banks, and said, we will do this. And actually there was a communique that said, any banks who has paid you off the debts, transit them to that end of evening. From 3rd of June, which was supposed to be like yesterday or today? Yesterday, yes. But I guess there was still issues of reconciliation or issues of how the policy will going to work. And then on that basis of that agreement, banks have gone ahead to go and start communicating with their customers. Then at last minute, NCCA has come out and said, you cannot communicate yet.
Right.
We need to still work out things, and that's where they are now. But you see, the transition is towards the end user billing. Basically says that let it just be like any service rendered by the telecom company. You want to use the USSD, just like any other thing, you're trying to sign on to Netflix or anything, get on with that. Meanwhile, a lot of banks are also moving towards mobile banking.
Yeah.
As the level of smartphone penetration in Nigeria increases, people will migrate more from USSD towards that. But it's still a major part of Nigerian financial inclusion program. So it's something that everyone must defend and protect.
Gotcha. Chika, maybe we'll touch on power tomorrow, as we'll use the time on this breaking news with Fitch. But we thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Our Business Analyst Chika Mbonu. Thank you so much.